Rapper Doja Cat has alienated the majority of her fan base after massive public backlash to her latest relationship, and we have all the details for you right now. Welcome back to a brand new episode of the Kickback, the show where we break down the hottest topics in music and entertainment. And before we jump in, I wanted to give a huge thanks to today's sponsor, Nivel Tequila. Nivel is a line of premium tequilas available in the United States and now in Canada. Their latest adventurous flavor, the Ghost Pepper Tequila, is now available in Alberta and Calgary at craft sellers, or just ask for it at your favorite liquor store. And I highly recommend this product. Definitely make sure to go and check it out. Now, hopping over to this Doja Cat story, there is a lot to unpack when it comes to the backlash of her recent relationship and conduct towards fans. So let's hop into everything right now. It recently came to light in public that Doja Cat was dating a man by the name of Jay Cyrus, pictured here in this photo. Jay Cyrus first rose to fame on Vine and then became a prominent Twitch streamer. Now, the reason Jay Cyrus retired from Twitch in the first place was due to the massive amount of accusations towards him, accusing him of being a manipulator and abuser of women. We go to this one tweet here from user Emma saying he used his power and influence to mistreat women who watched his stream. The last count of women who came forward was close to 20. He destroyed a community of hundreds of people who trusted and admired him. Jay Cyrus has proven he should not be given a platform. Another tweet reads, in my own personal experience as one of his moderators for 3+ years, he would fake medical ailments and use self-harm as a means to control us. Now, these are just two of the accusations against Doja Cat's new boyfriend, Jay Cyrus, so it's not hard to understand why she's getting so much backlash. Now, the first response from Doja Cat came in the form of this comment where she says, I want you all to read this comment and take it as a message. I don't give a fuck what you think about my personal life. I never have and never will give a fuck what you think about me or my personal life. Goodbye and good riddance, you miserable hoes. Ha ha ha. That was the first statement from Doja Cat about this, which is somewhat understandable. Now, there's two different sides of this story, guys, and this is really why I wanted to cover this, because it's a fascinating thing. On one hand, an artist is entitled to their personal life, and they do not owe anybody anything when it comes to who they choose to associate with, or really what they choose to do outside of the spotlight at all. They don't owe their fans any sort of degree of accountability towards that. But it does really look bad for your brand when you're partnering with somebody who has publicly apologized and basically admitted to the fact that he manipulates women. In this new age with all of this cancel culture, Me Too culture, I know it's basically a dead topic at this point because we've talked about it so much, but basically the way that this is going to be viewed is mocking victims as well. So there's a lot of different layers to this story that are really bad. Doja Cat continued on Twitter, going back and forth with members of her community, or I guess former members of her community now, on threads. She says she doesn't love any of her fans because she doesn't even know them. A fan responds and says, and we don't know you, but we have supported you through thick and thin. Mind you, you'd be nothing without us. You'd be working at a grocery store making songs on fucking GarageBand. Miss High School Dropout. That was actually a good one. I can't even lie. Doja Cat says, nobody forced you. I don't know why you're talking to me like you're my mother, bitch. You sound like a crazy person. So Doja Cat calling her fans crazy and basically telling them she doesn't care about them. The other statement she put up here says, my fans don't name themselves shit. If you call yourself a kitten or fucking kittens, that means you need to get off your phone and get a job and help your parents with the house. Of course, Doja responding to the nickname that her fans have given themselves. I guess they call themselves kittens. I think all good fan bases, especially for female artists, definitely have nicknames for their fans. I think Ice Spice is Spice Cabinet or something like that. I know Nicki Minaj has the Barbs. So I know that it's sort of part of the identity. Beyonce's got Beehive. Listen, I'm in the know a little bit with the female artists more than you might think. And that's a big key to success for them, is giving their fan bases an identity, giving their fan bases something that they can all identify as and identify under. So when you go ahead and swipe that down and you shoot that down, I think that's really, really nasty. I don't think she's necessarily wrong with wanting her personal life not to be analyzed. I don't think that's the problem at all, because again, an artist is entitled to have their personal life and date who she pleases. I think she's completely correct about that. I don't think it's a good move. I don't think it makes her look good. I don't think it makes her look like a role model, and I don't think it really does anything for her brand. I could easily see this also being like the situation with Taylor Swift when she was dating, I think, Matt Healy from the 1975. They pretty much broke up when a situation like this happened. And I think that was a good PR move, because Taylor Swift was not going to allow this to happen to her, what's happening to Doja Cat. Now, the last tweets from Doja read as follows. One of her fan pages actually responded and said, "What should I change my name to since you don't like the term kitten?" Doja Cat responded to one of her biggest fans saying, "Just delete the entire account and rethink everything. It's never too late." Wow. Absolutely a fucking smack in the face to this poor girl. She also responds to another fan here saying, "You making my government name your screen name is creepy as fuck." So obviously Doja Cat completely fed up with fans, completely tired of, I guess, being admired. But I think this is just way, way, way too far. The other thing she has to remember too, man, is that Doja Cat fans are like young girls. Like, they're young. You know, these are people. If you have a Doja Cat fan page, you cannot be over the age of 30, bro. There is nobody over the age of 30 who is making a Doja Cat fan page. She gets to live a really, really nice, affluent life too, because of all these people. The only reason we even really know who she is because her online following and the people who followed her before she was even a known commodity or even really famous, those people pushed her into the spotlight, because she was sort of bubbling up on YouTube a little bit. And a lot of these people who saw her on YouTube sort of bubbling up before she was known by anybody have been there since the beginning and helped push her and propel her to that success where she can have a house, where she can have fuck you money, where she can be at the Met Gala. And it's just really disrespectful to do that. You know, there's no malice in somebody trying to name themselves like in honor of you as a fan base. They're not doing it to be mean. They're not doing it to be invasive. They're doing it because they love this girl and they love her music. Now, a lot of people have come to the defense of Doja Cat as well, basically citing the fact that she is standing up against parasocial relationships, which of course means a relationship that is one-sided. You know, obviously these fans love Doja Cat. Doja Cat does not know who these people necessarily are. So when you love someone at that level, it is considered technically a parasocial relationship. Now, I pulled up a little bit of research actually in regards to parasocial relationships so we could try to understand it. And basically the consensus from experts is that it's not necessarily as bad of a thing as it's made out to be. The main negatives of a parasocial relationship, the number one is financial difficulties. These people spend a massive amount of their income on tickets, donations, merchandise, all these different things. And this is actually one of the main harmful things of a parasocial relationship. The other main one is basically losing connection with people in your life and funneling more attention into the parasocial relationship. However, the benefits claimed by experts seem to outweigh the negatives. Parasocial relationships allow for positive modeling for oneself and who they want to be. They ease loneliness and give people who are lonely a sense of connection, comfort, and companionship. And they can also be validating to people who feel like they have no purpose in life. That being said, to attack the people who feel this way about you, I think is incredibly irresponsible. When you think about it, somebody who's that connected on a level where it actually gives their lives meaning, you know, it's kind of like a fine line between, you know, some of those people, it is tied into maybe some mental illness. You know, if you're really living your life based on this person, that's a big thing. And for you to have that responsibility, that's a big responsibility to have. And I think it's one that you really need to treat with grace. You know, I grew up a massive Kiss fan, and I'm still a fan to this day. But I was one of those guys, I was doing the fan pages, and that's how I started this. It started with the Kiss fan show. I was doing the collecting. I was flying places to see them constantly. And those guys, the way they handled that, they handled it with such class and such grace, and they understand that they are just really affecting people in a positive way. And it's just love. That's all it is at the end of the day, is love. So Doja Cat, I don't know what's wrong with you, but you are single-handedly ruining your own career when you've had a cakewalk to the top. You do not have a discography that warrants you to be behaving this way. You have not put in the work to establish a body of hits that puts you up there on the level that you think you're at. And you're really not shit without any of these people. So to be disrespecting people like this, making them feel bad for supporting you, for putting you in a mansion and buying you a nice house, it's fuck you. Okay, fuck Doja Cat. This is not cool. And I don't know why you're going to treat your fans this way. So I want you guys to let me know what you think down below in the comments. Doja Cat has a tour coming up. There's speculation that this is definitely going to negatively impact sales for this tour. And I would not be surprised by that at all. But again, I guess we're going to find out. Let me know what you think down below. Rapper Kanye West is reportedly working on a brand new album in Japan as of right now. Reports have been surfacing from across the web and different artist sources, and we're going to break down everything you need to know about this potential upcoming project. Now, this would be the first body of work Kanye would be dropping after the massive Adidas controversy and scandal, which we've covered quite a bit here on this channel, meaning this is probably the most anticipated record he would be dropping since My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. We talked a little bit about this on the Travis Scott episode last week, but basically when an artist comes back from a major controversy, especially like the one that Kanye West had, which, I don't think has ever been rivaled when it comes to actual controversies that weren't like a crime or something. This really was probably one of the biggest actions and reactions that has ever happened in the music business, with the biggest fallout that I think we've ever seen for any sort of artist. The Taylor Swift situation, again, for Kanye was sort of like people cover their mouth and sort of act shocked, but you can come back from a situation like that relatively easy. A situation like this, man, there are people who will never listen to this guy again. There are people who will never give this guy a shot again. And the people who are on the fence, I think it's going to take some massive, massive effort to actually bring those people back. This cannot be one of the albums. If Kanye comes out and drops an album after this, man, this cannot be an album like Ye, and it cannot be an album like Jesus is King. And before you come for me in the comments, I know those albums are great. Trust me, I enjoy those albums very much. But they did not perform well. Okay, we can argue all day about the artistic validity of an album or of certain songs. That I can have a conversation about. But when it comes to commercial success, you compare an album like even Donda to those two records. There's no comparison. So it's going to have to be bigger and better than Donda. And obviously that wasn't Donda 2. Donda 2, we heard most of the versions of those tracks. That album was pretty much finished. And now that record is basically in the graveyard of Kanye West albums with, I guess, Yandhi. That's never going to be coming out. So I don't know exactly what to expect for this. Again, I personally enjoy Donda 2, and I wish that record would have come out. So, if we're wiping all of those sounds off the table, this really leaves me with no hints as to how this album could sound. But let's take a look at some of the hints that we do have in terms of what's happening. Now, American rapper Ruga claimed that Kanye is currently in the studio right now on the No Jumper podcast. Apparently, he's making moves over in Japan. And Ruga says, quote, "I told you he's working on an album." Reports also claim that artists such as Ty Dolla $ign and Digital Nas have been spotted in Japan spending a lot of time with Ye. And what an amazing place to make a record, by the way. I do have high hopes for this as well, because as we saw with Twisted Fantasy, when Ye really goes to another place, another country, a place that he really loves, and he dials in and he gets that distraction of the paparazzi and the Hollywood life and the bullshit and the Kardashians off of him, it seems like he really performs better. We've seen him go to different places to try to find refuge. Twisted Fantasy, it was Hawaii. We've, of course, seen him go to Wyoming on his ranch. And of course, he grew up all over the world as well. So he's very, well cultured and familiar with different places. And Japan is a place he's gone to create before. Producer Hit Boy also confirms that Ye is back in the studio and working with Freddie Gibbs. So that is the scoop that we have on this potential album coming out. I'm definitely excited about this, man. I think this album, like I say, it's going to have to pack a punch, or else I don't really know exactly where Kanye is going to go from here. The good thing is, though, that even if he's not able to regain his status in the eyes of the general public, Kanye has one of the biggest real, actual fan bases of any artist in the world. And he probably has the highest number of people because, his views are not increased and inflated by fake bots and fake streams. He doesn't have fake streams on Spotify. He doesn't have the industry machine really behind him like that anymore. So all those millions of streams he gets, those are all from real people who love Ye and who will stand by him probably through anything at this point if they stood by him through this. So he's never gonna have to worry if he can't reclaim that light that he had from the general public. He doesn't need to be liked by the general public. I feel like even if this album flops and, most of the world says, okay, screw you, Kanye, he's still going to have, 1, 2, 300 million people who are in his corner. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys expect from the album down below in the comments. Podcast host Joe Rogan had a chance encounter when he ran into Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses at a restaurant in Athens, Greece. Now, this is a pretty cool post coming from Joe Rogan's official Instagram, and it reads, was in Greece on vacation and randomly ran into Axl Rose at a restaurant. He invited us to see Guns N' Roses in Athens, and it was fucking amazing. They went hard for 3 hours in the blazing heat, and the crowd was incredible. If you have a chance to see them near you, I can't recommend it enough. And here's Joe Rogan on stage showing his perspective from Guns N' Roses. Now, this is really cool. This is actually refreshing to see as well, because the one thing I've wondered about Joe Rogan, with all of his fuck you money, his hundreds of millions of dollars, is why is this guy never traveling? I've only ever really seen Rogan spending time in Los Angeles and, Houston. I never really see him go anywhere. People always ask him if he's gone to the pyramids. He talks about how much he loves the pyramids, and he always says he's never gone anywhere. So I've really always scratched my head as to why Joe Rogan does not travel. Let me tell you something. I ever get some fuck you money, the first thing I'm going to do is see the world. That to me is just the basics when it comes to having a lot of cash. But it's cool to see Joe Rogan sort of out and about in the world. I think he's sort of, people sort of become like a talking head when they just sit in one environment and they never move around and they never show you how they are in another environment. It's like they become a caricature of themselves. Definitely cool to hear positive reviews about Guns N' Roses as well, because Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses were voted one of the worst acts to see in the current times, which is not necessarily completely a surprise, just due to the fact that Axl Rose's voice is not what it used to be, but Guns N' Roses were called the frontrunners for the worst Glastonbury performers of all time after massive negative press during their last set. Now, whatever the case may be, it's definitely good to see Guns N' Roses out on the road. Again, the way I see it, if nobody's putting a gun to somebody's head and making them buy tickets, I think it's completely fair to keep touring. If the fans want to keep seeing it, if people from different generations want to experience Guns N' Roses who maybe weren't around in the beginning, I think it's totally cool for them to go ahead and tour. I would prefer that they're in touring shape. I would prefer they're able to do it 100%. But if they're not, again, and if somebody wants to see it, I think that's definitely their right. I definitely will not be going, but I think it's your right if you do want to go. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. Hopping over to today's guest on the Kickback, it was awesome to have country vocalist Roman Alexander on the show to talk about his latest single, One Tequila. And of course, this is dropping on International Tequila Day. So shout out to everybody out there. Pour yourself up a drink and let's have a chat with Roman Alexander. Awesome, man. Roman Alexander, I appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I don't get to do many of these, so it's exciting.
Very cool. Well, we'll definitely take advantage of the opportunity. I was just watching some of your stuff, man, and I gotta say, the video for One Tequila, it's impressive, man. Like I'm watching this video, and I'm getting the sense that there was a lot of work behind this. Obviously, we'll show some clips as we talk about it for the viewers, but maybe set the scene for that video and maybe the process behind it.
Yeah, man. So I was watching Narcos. I don't know if you're a big TV guy. I love Narcos. I love always will love movies. So the typical music video just gets to the point super quick, which is what you want to do. But I feel like sometimes, especially in country, it can lack context. There's always the girl.
Mm,
There's always the country singer, the guy or the girl, and they're always. It's just like the same thing to me. And
yeah,
typically. I wanted something, I'm Mexican, so I wanted something that felt it was embracing my heritage a little bit, and so
right.
that's why I was busting the tequila kingpin, who happens to be Mexican as well. So I thought it was really cool. It was a nice little taste and touch of me being able to play a character that I would want to be in a movie or I want to watch on TV.
Yeah.
Um, falling in love and then running away and going on the run together. So
Well, that's pretty cool though. So you really were part of the whole production for the story as well. Because I know some guys they just say, "Hey, I want to make a cool video," and they just let somebody else
yeah.
do it. But you actually had the concept.
Yeah, I mean, I always try to have ideas. I think that's really important. I always try to have something up my sleeve ready to go at all times.
No
But
question.
you know, I think there's so much that can be held back by finances sometimes because when you have a label, it's still a business. It's not like an endless amount of money. So production budgets can vary. And we had a good amount to work with. Actually, I feel very fortunate, but I was trying to be cost effective. And the idea I threw out was, it had to have been a $200,000 idea because what I had in
Right.
my head, a SWAT team gear, this,
It's like a
that,
real
blah, blah,
episode of
blah.
Narcos.
Exactly. And as an artist, we always think bigger than we're not supposed to, but bigger than the average mind.
Or bigger than our
Um,
means as well.
that right there, that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
You found the words for me, and I was able to. We were able to get it down. Hannah Hall, who was the producer on it, and she was able to get the cost down to where we needed it. So it was really cool to be able to wear the business hat and then to be the
Yeah.
artist and then get to be the actor. I thought it was kind of a cool little thing, and to see it all come to life, to see it on screen after you do it is always a really cool thing.
Must be super rewarding. Speaking on obviously your singles and of course the body of work in general, the debut single was Cocktail Conversations. Of course, we're talking about One Tequila now. And of course, this is going to be dropping on National Tequila Day. Maybe if you could speak on the dynamic between like maybe let's say a good drink and some good music, because that's just something that's always been hand in hand.
It's always been hand in hand, and I think a lot of it too. Country music
Yeah.
has always kind of shown that narrative through time. So country has always kind of done the whole beer or whiskey, and always enjoying the people you're around in a party setting or it's a breakup setting.
Mhm.
Alcohol always finds its way into a country song some way or another. So I've always had this fascination with bourbon and whiskey, and I've kind of evolved through time. So like for me, I loved whiskey and bourbon. Now I'm kind of, and I still love cigars, but I
Mm.
kind of my palate changed over time. I think from just being on the road where
Yeah,
you don't always have bourbon, you have tequila typically backstage or beer. So I
for
kind of
sure.
found, and also I found the clear liquors are a lot healthier than the darker ones. So I've always
Mhm.
kind of fallen into the tequila thing lately. And so they go hand in hand really well because when you listen to music, you always want to have some kind of drink in your hand, whether it's alcohol or not, but you want to be enjoying the company you're with. So I think that's why they go so well together.
What's your go-to type of tequila? Do you like, obviously you mentioned a clear liquors, so maybe not the darker ones?
Yeah, I mean anything like reposado is great, but I mean I'm really into the blancos lately,
Yeah.
or like sometimes like the even like for me, Casamigos the Negro, which has kind
Hmm.
of got that like little spicy flavor. There's a setting for it everywhere though. So if I'm on the
Yeah.
golf course, I'm going to have like the Negro with, you know, maybe like a splash of Sprite in there.
Mm.
And then whenever I'm on the beach, Reposado Blanco.
I like that. So I mean, speaking on country, you talked about obviously how you wanted to have something to sort of represent your heritage in the video, which is really cool. Do you find that there's many country artists with Mexican descent, or is that something that's rather rare?
I wouldn't say it's rare. It's definitely a thing, and there's even through history, it's been a thing. I just, I'm my grandparents on my dad's side are from Mexico, so not their whole family and everything, except for my dad. So it was, it's always really cool to be able to share that with people and to be like, hey, I'm Mexican. I'm very proud of it. I don't know how to speak Spanish though, and
Okay.
that's not my proudest thing. I wish I did, but I still embrace the culture. I embrace the food a lot. Food is something that
Mm.
like really speaks to me. Um, and it's something I want my future children one day to like learn about. And I always try to like show my friends where my family came from. So yeah, you see it in country music from time to time, like right now, like Alex Georgia, or like there's one guy named Sammy Arriaga who's Puerto Rican and Cuban. Uh, I think Alex is Puerto Rican, and then Sammy's Cuban. But you're starting to see Latin kind of evolve a little bit, which is
Yeah,
cool. I don't know as far as Mexicans go. I don't really know many Mexicans, so I
that's
feel
cool
like
though, man. Breaking ground.
I'm breaking ground. But here's the other thing, and this could be this time tends to be a controversial topic sometimes, especially in today's landscape. I don't want to be the guy who's like, I'm Mexican, so I need to be in country. I want to be in country music. Like, look at me, I'm Mexican.
Right.
I happen to be Mexican and happen to be a country singer, and I
Yeah.
think that they pair well together. Um, and if as long as I am able to give a nod when I need to it, I think it's a very complimentary thing.
I completely agree. As somebody with, mixed background myself, I can definitely relate to that on a big level. Speaking of some of the acclaim that you've gotten, you've obviously had critical acclaim from Rolling Stone, Wide Open Country, Country Now. Which one of those articles or sort of accolades did you look at and say, wow, I can't believe I'm looking at this right now?
Sorry, there's somebody that was coming
That's
downstairs.
okay.
Man, I haven't. I see the articles come out. I don't always read them. Maybe that's a bad thing. I think it's really cool. Back on the first EP, the Between You and Me EP, there was one that came out from Billboard,
Mhm.
and I had always read like stuff from Billboard growing up. Same with Rolling Stone, and to
Yeah.
see my songs sitting in those publications, even like Country Now, just seemed. I mean, that's a newer publication, but to see like these classic publications like Rolling Stone and Billboard share my music was always so freaking cool to me. I was like, that's
Yeah.
so cool, And then back home, people who just don't understand, the music industry like we do, and I don't expect them to. Their
Yeah.
job is to enjoy the music and listen to it and indulge. Um, they think they're like, oh my god, you're in Billboard. That means like you're it. You made it, and
Right.
they don't understand. But it's cool though. It's really cool to be able to just say I was in Billboard or I was in Rolling Stone or I charted on Billboard. That was
Yeah.
cool too. You know.
It's amazing, man, for the resume and just for personal, as well. I mean, as somebody who used to read it, that must have been a massive thing for you. How about the acclaim of country in general? It's like we see so many people talking about it and it seems to be blowing up. Obviously the mainstream, sort of artists like, Taylor Swift in the spotlight. Do you feel like it's really country's time right now?
I think it's always been country's time.
Hmm,
I really
that's a
do.
good
I
point.
think that it's always been a narrative, really speaking for not just the American people. Now it kind of speaks for all people. It doesn't matter where you're from. I know internationally they love country, but um, I think it was always originally a freedom of speech for the working class, the blue
Hmm,
collar worker, what it kind of originated as.
yeah.
And it was telling the story of the everyday American, the people who get up the 9 to 5ers, or the people who get up at 5 o'clock and go plow a field and work till the sun goes down. So as cliche as that can kind of sound over time, as it gets more diluted, that's the truth. I happen to be from the Midwest, so I didn't grow up on a farm, but a lot of my friends did. And a lot of my background be between, growing up downtown Kansas City where my grandparents were, and then being where my mom and her side of the family were. I was able to kind of get a taste of both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah.
And I kind of found that both love country music. There's a song that everybody can relate to. Everybody's been through a breakup. Everybody's been in love. And if you haven't yet, you're going to. And, there's a song for everybody. And I think that's the cool part about country. And the songwriting is I think the best songwriting out there.
I completely agree. You got the touring coming up, which is going to be going on in September. What else do you hope that people can sort of take from the latest project and the latest video as you gear up for these dates?
Obviously there's the self-promotion aspect. I hope that they fall in love with it and they're like, oh my God, I want to go buy a ticket and go see a show. But I really want people to take away, like, just be on board. Like, let's go through this journey together. Let's do this. This isn't like a short-term thing. I'm going to go through stages in my life, and I want them to be a part of that. And I want to grow with them too. I want to be the soundtrack to people as they're growing up and going through life.
I love that. For National Tequila Day, what are we going to be drinking? Are we going to go for some Blanco or some of the Reposado?
Blanco for me, I think it's calling for Blanco. I never give it enough attention. I feel like I need to. So probably some Blanco mixed with I'm a big tequila pineapple guy lately. So I've been drinking tequila, soda water, like club soda mixed with some pineapple and some lime. That's always kind of done the thing for me.
I love that. Roman Alexander, thank you for taking the time, man. And cheers to your continued success, dude. You're killing it.
You too, man. I appreciate it.
Huge shout out to Roman Alexander for joining us on this brand new episode of The Kickback. Now hopping over to a word from the president and CEO of El Nivel Tequila, Alejandro Barajas. El Nivel Tequila has their brand new adventurous flavor, the Ghost Pepper, available in Alberta at craft sellers in Calgary, or just ask for it at your favorite liquor store anywhere in Canada. Alejandro joined me for a conversation on how they select their premium flavors of tequila at El Nivel, and how the small batch process has been perfected for premium flavor every time. So welcome to the show, Alejandro, the president and CEO of El Nivel. It's a pleasure to have you on today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
100%. So, of course, a lot of exciting things happening right now with El Nivel. And one of the main things that stood out to me, and we'll talk about the other flavors, but the main flavor I was looking at was the Ghost Pepper Tequila. Just to open this up, what sort of gave you the idea for such a creative flavor? Because this is truly one of a kind.
Yes. My background is to flavor creation in my last job, but this specific flavor was wanted from a client of mine who I have to design. So I came out with an idea of my old days when I was a kid after school. We in Mexico get fruit in those days and chili pepper with lime. And then you buy it and taste all together. So that was the idea. Design a flavor as a Mexican candy. Wow. That goes well with all those fruits like grapefruits and cranberries, hibiscus, all those kind of fruits goes really well, just like a Mexican candy.
Okay, so that's where the idea came from, back to your actual personal roots.
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing. So, I mean, in terms of developing something like this, is there a long trial and error when it comes to finding the right flavor? Or, I mean, how exactly do you find that perfect balance?
I experience most.
Okay, yeah. Because you're the flavor guy.
Yes, I used to work for flavor, so I kind of know all that goes in designing all the flavors. It's a little bit of a training, a lot of training how to design and then to find the right partner to make it happen. of course, and then invent a process to organic process that it's qualified for tequila.
Okay.
It gets a little tricky, but it can be done.
Yeah, and it's definitely worth it. I mean, for all the cool flavors. Maybe going back with your personal experience, Alejandro, how did you exactly get started in the flavoring and tequila in general? How far back does this go for you?
For the flavors, well, making tequila goes back when I was a teenager. I used to help in my grandpa's farm, small farm. They have some small cows. I took care of them, going to the ranch and coming back to the house, making tequila with a friend who used to have the cows in the same way. We discovered agave. We discovered that people make tequila. And one afternoon, we start making tequila, probably 14, 15 years old.
Wow.
That was, of course, the first tequila you can guess, right? All smoke and not good. But that got better through the years. And then coming back to the flavors, I landed in a dream job. I can say that my job was to design flavors for yogurt. And
Okay.
I met brilliant people who their life has been dedicated to study how to make flavors. So those people make it seems easier to design those flavors.
Interesting. So, in terms of the actual flavors that you do make, these are all small batch. Maybe if you could explain how exactly small batch production is different from maybe a mass production of tequila.
Well, yes. The small production is just one oven and
Okay.
one batch at a time.
Wow.
So you make your agave half hectare, you put it in the oven, you cook it for 3 days, usually about somewhere there, take it out, ferment it for whatever it takes, 5, 7 days, depends on the temperature. Then distill, put it in the bottles or in a tank or whatever you want to use it for. In the mass production, is more like big tanks with help of nitrates.
Right.
Those expedites the fermentation and the alcohol production. So that is the same tequila, but it's faster, and the process of productions are different. The taste at the end is a little bit different. The change of sugar are a little different. The complex of flavor is different. I don't know, you have the opportunity to try a couple of different mass produce tequilas against a small batch.
Mm-hmm.
It's to me, the viscosity, the flavor gets more deeper into the small batch and organic tequilas.
Yeah, I completely agree. You can taste that care, and it definitely it goes a long way in terms of the bottle. In terms of the story for El Nivel as well, of course, there's a big link to family, and this is a family-run company. Maybe if you could speak on your story and background with that.
El Nivel was named after a canteen in Mexico City that now belongs to the anthropological history of Mexico.
Wow.
The label comes because when the Spanish came over and built the city, they built in the middle of the lake. The water came up to that level of that canteen. And now until today, the level is in front of now the anthropological office or some kind of office for the Historical Society of Mexico City. But still you can see the level of Mexico right there.
That's amazing.
Yes, is where we kind of like have the name grab because it took us from like heart of Mexico City, and we said the level or el nivel is where the art, the church, the government, and the regular people meet at the same level. And it's
Okay.
because it's between the church, the government palace, and a San Carlos School of Art.
So it's a really deep meaning then. It goes, well past just a surface level name.
Yes.
Pardon the pun, I guess.
Exactly. It belongs to the Mexico, right? It's like, that's like what Mexico is. Like everybody here in the same level, doesn't matter. You are the common guy, you work at the government, you are an artist. It doesn't matter. You are welcome at here.
That's incredible. So that's something that most people in Mexico City, they would know about that, landmark.
Older people, yes.
Yeah.
Where,
okay. Yeah.
Yes, because now you can as an 18-year-old guy and very probably will not tell you. That's not that exist anymore.
You have to know your history.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
In terms of the ghost pepper, I'd be very curious, is how would you rate the heat, 1 through 10? Obviously it's going to be very hot, but is it, a 10 or is it more in the halfway point?
It's about a half point.
Okay.
I will say between 4 and 6. Depends on your intake of heat. Of course, and depends, like here, like you grab and taste it, you will taste first like a sweetness, and then very rough peel of lemon. And after that, the heat will play in your tongue and grab you. And after you swallow, it will give you here the candy. I want some a little bit more. But it is hot if you like heat. But if you prefer palomas, they make great palomas with the tajin rim. It's like it makes great spicy margaritas.
Yes.
Spicy Bloody Marias. What else? What goes well with a hot chocolate.
Oh wow, that would be quite a flavor.
That will be it's kind of. Oh, thank you. Here talking about this.
There we go. He needs a refreshment for this.
yes, yeah.
That's amazing.
Spicy paloma.
That's the spicy paloma. So, I mean, that was actually my next question. What would you recommend in terms of a cocktail? So you came well prepared for that.
Yes, I hear my wife, Christina, friends and family are all into it. So yes, they can prepare and they propose. Yes, but then specifically the spicy one goes well. It goes really well with grapefruit. Anything, grapefruit jarritos, grapefruit square, of course, grapefruit juice, very good, is very good.
Of course.
The better, the better, right?
No question. Yeah, that sounds incredible. I'm definitely going to be mixing up one of those. Obviously, the ghost pepper is available in Alberta at craft sellers in Calgary, or viewers can just ask for it at their favorite liquor store. What's your favorite part about bringing El Nivel into Canada?
Oh my goodness, my favorite part is like the surprise. And we have been welcomed with love in Canada, and thank you very much of all Canada to give us our love and welcome arms. It was a surprise to me, to my family, to everybody, where they called us and said, you guys are in Alberta and some other places and we don't know yet. But it was like, wow, everybody was very, very happy, very happy.
Absolutely. We always love, new exotic flavors, and we always appreciate, a small business, family-run business who is really committed to making that great product. So we thank you again. We want to remind everybody watching to go down to Craft Cellars in Calgary to check out the Ghost Pepper Tequila by El Nivel. And of course, if they don't have it in stock at that moment, which they should, make sure to ask for it at your favorite liquor store. And Alejandro, we really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for stopping by the show.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
Huge shout out to Alejandro and El Nivel Tequila. Make sure to go check them out in our links down below. And of course, ask for them at Craft Cellars in Calgary, Alberta, or at your favorite liquor store in the area. Huge shout out to you guys for joining me on this brand new episode of The Kickback. If you enjoyed this show, make sure to hit that like button and of course hit that subscribe button down below with notifications on to never miss an update on future episodes.